Don't be weak and stupid. United States has done something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Bro, Donald Trump watched my stream, chat. Imagine if this was greedy. Bro, Donald Trump literally watched my stream. That's crazy, bro. Don't be a panny can. A new party based on greedy and stupid people, essentially, right? Be strong, courageous, patient, and greatness will be the result. Okay, chat, I want to give you guys an economic lesson from my 4 years of education in finance. All right. This is an educational stream. Right? Let's try to envision this together. Right? This is going to be the topic on tariffs. All right. Let's get this up here. Oh my god, you're fantastic. You're
a great streamer.
Absolutely. Tariffs. All right. All right, chat. What do you guys understand about tariffs? How do you think tariffs work in the real world? Hey, not joking, by the way. This is very serious. I'm not fucking around. I'm actually going to teach you guys how tariffs work. Give me 1 second. How does tariff work? There are tax. There are tax for imports. Pool categories, please. You pay the tariffs for me. Tax. Trade tax. Aboba. 43311. Gamba. Import tax. Okay. I think some of you guys sort of get it, right? Tariffs, they are essentially a way to make your imports more expensive than your domestic product. All right? It makes the foreign products that will enter into your country be more expensive. This looks like dumps. Why does it look like dumps? Wait, hold up. Dom. All right? Your imports will make the foreign products more expensive than your domestic products. And why this is the case is because the purpose of this tariff, right, is created by the government in order to protect your domestic businesses when you compete with international products. Because globalization in 2025 is a very, very real thing, right? Consumers no longer have the need to just consume your local products. It has been the case for the past century, right? You want to buy the same, if someone can buy product A from your own country, manufactured in your own country, and then someone wants to buy product B. Yeah, if someone wants to buy, okay, you know what? I'm gonna type it out. Product A is domestic. Product B is foreign, right? So between these two things, what do you think the consumers in your country care about? Do you think they care about whether is it made locally or made foreignly? Or do you think they just only give a shit about how much it costs and how good the product is? I would say majority probably only care about the product itself and not where it's manufactured, right? So if both products are the exact same, pretty much identical in every way possible, but your domestic product was, let's say, selling for $3, right? If your domestic product was selling for, it can be any sort of products, right? But the foreign product sells for $1. So it is the exact same, pretty much exact same quality, the build, the experience, the amount of volume you're getting, the exact same, but it is $2 cheaper than your domestic product. Chances are the citizens in that country would buy the foreign product, because there's no reason for them to spend basically 200% more price for essentially the exact same good, right? So what tariffs does as a principle is to essentially say foreign products will now be more expensive such that domestic products, or rather domestic businesses, can survive, right? Because there's no way a domestic business can keep up with if another country's product, assuming that they're exactly the same, especially if the foreign country has a much cheaper cost of production, right? This can be your cost of manpower, this can be the cost of your resources, this can be the cost of pretty much anything, right? Because, for example, third world countries or even China, manufacturing a lot of very cheap manpower compared to, for example, the United States. It is very, very cheap to manufacture these goods for essentially the exact same quality, but at a much more cost-effective price, right? So in order to make sure that the domestic businesses of this country does not go under, because there's no way for them to keep up with the foreign products, tariffs will then be introduced to the foreign product so that the pricing can match up. So for example, if you were to introduce a tariff of $3, right, it will be plus $3. So now this foreign product is $4. Now the locals, right, the consumers of this country will be like, it is the exact same price, or rather the exact same product, but now the foreign good is now $4 instead of $3. Then more people will go into their domestic producers, domestic businesses, so that they will actually buy them, since there's no incentive to buy something that is costing more now, right? That is essentially how tariffs work. Tariffs specifically, there's two kind of tariffs. One is like fixed tariffs, like the one you see over here. Right? This is like a $3 tariff. So whatever sort of tariff you guys see, like whatever product it is, if it's gonna be $3, it's gonna be $3. Doesn't matter if the good itself is a $1 product or a $100 product. It is a $3 tariff for everything. But most tariffs we see in the real world, as well as basically the one that Donald Trump is imposing, is a percentile tariff. I forgot what is the proper term. It's like a percentage tariff. So for example, like a 10%, right? A 10% tariff on a $1 product, it will be 10 cents. A 10% tariff on a $100 product is going to be $10, right? So the issue now with this global tariff thing is you are forcing all the foreign products that is entering into the United States to be at a much, much, much higher price, so that the locals, they will only consume the domestic products. So two outcomes we have on this. Number one, the other countries aren't going to be too happy, which is what results in trade wars, right? How can United States impose these tariffs on my country's manufactured goods just for the sake of protecting their personal domestic interests? Which means now the foreign countries, most likely, they are going to retaliate, which is what China already did, right? No politics. Check, this is not a political show, whatever. This is purely finance 101, right? This is just finance, educational stream. So now China is going to retaliate, and they also impose tariffs on USA products. And this is what is called the trade war. Because now if every single product is going to have tariff here, tariff here, tariff here, everything is going to be way, 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 way more expensive. Which is why the entire market is like low-key kind of crashing. I think today they kind of recovered quite a little bit, but it just like, it's super bad for pretty much everyone in months. Because the only person that's getting hurt is not really like the presidents, it's the people. Because the people are going to be in the receiving end of this trade war, and everything in the world is just going to become super expensive because both countries want to keep imposing tariffs on one another, right? Now I think the price of an iPhone is 30,000 USD. Especially if they don't want to outsource to foreign countries, they only use domestic manpower and everything, it's going to be super, 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 super expensive. Which brings me to my second point, right? Second point. Outside of external factors, such as, for example, China, they impose more of the tariffs on all the countries, different countries impose their retaliatory tariffs. Even domestic businesses, it's going to lead to them in a situation, something like, okay, there is no more competition, right? There is no more competition between our local brands with the foreign brands, because all the foreign brands, they are getting tariffed. Which means that my local business is pretty much the only alternative that the people in the country can consume. Why would they go and consume all these more expensive products when my product has no tariffs and is technically cheaper? So now the domestic businesses is what is known as, they might get complacent, right? Since nobody really gives a fuck anymore, and every single other country's goods are going to be more expensive, I'm just going to be sloppy. I'm just going to produce like sloppy products. I'm just going to charge them, maybe even higher prices, right? As long as it's not more expensive than the foreigners. It reduces the free market. Because now free market is no longer being established. There's no such thing as the demand and supply chain. It is basically just everyone else is more expensive, therefore I can just do whatever the fuck I want to do. So this is why for most situations, tariffs as a whole, it would lead to a overall net negative for the economy. Not just for the country that imposed a tariff, but for pretty much the entire world. Which is why the stock market, like I mentioned, it crashed. There are some situations where tariffs are good. Some situations. I don't know what was the exact example. I think South Korea, they had this tariff for their cars. I can't really remember, but there are some very niche situations where it's good. But most of the time, it is a net negative, right? So with that, we have come to the end of Tariffs 101 in a very educational stream from twitch.tv/MrPokke. Oh, explain it in HSR terms. Okay, let me try. Let's say Firefly and Acheron. All right. Let's say Firefly and Acheron, they deal the exact same amount of damage. DPS, team building is pretty much exactly the same. But one day, the Firefly Nation is not too happy with Acheron because Acheron costs 1,500 stellar jades for a temple. Like Acheron's banner costs 1,500 stellar jades for a temple, whereas for Firefly's banner it costs 1,600. And just imagine that these two are the exact same, right? So the Firefly Nation, they are not too happy because everybody is pulling for Acheron and nobody is pulling for Firefly. So in retaliation, the Firefly Nation launched the Acheron Tariff, right? The Acheron Tariff. So now that you're a consumer in Honkai Star Rail, in order to pull for Acheron, you have to pay 1,700 stellar jades for a single temple. So you're paying 1,700. The 1,500 is the original price. Then the extra 200 stellar jades is going into the Firefly Nation's pockets, the government tax, right? So that is essentially how a tariff works. So now you'll be like, since it costs 100 stellar jades more to pull Acheron, I'm just gonna pull Firefly instead. And then the Acheron Nation, heard of that's not too good. All right, now they launch a retaliatory tariff on the Firefly banner. So now it costs 1,800 stellar jades to pull for a Firefly temple. And the process repeats itself, and it repeats, and it repeats, and repeats, and eventually it now costs 160,000 stellar jades. Okay, that is basically tariffs TLDR and HSR. Hope that can help you visualize this, right? Yippee! Do you guys get it? Okay, very good, very, very. W teacher, W education, right? Very, very nice.